All right then. Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome. My name is Todd Tuckey. I'm president here at the Barrie Chamber of Commerce. I'd like to thank you for joining the Barrie Chamber and Sandbox this afternoon for our free workshop. Create a professional appearance on live video conferencing platforms. So I made sure I was attending this one because I'll say it gently, I've seen a lot of people that have a face for radio the way they get in front of these things. So that's why we brought in the expert, because a lot of people, whether it's today, tomorrow, in the future, this is going to become a bit of a norm for a lot of people where it was the abnorm going into this thing. So before we get started though, I'm going to ask Paul Markle, our new interim executive director, to introduce himself. Welcome, Paul.
Thanks, Todd, and thank you for everybody for attending today, and thank you, Ian, for putting this on. So the first one of a number of different workshops that Ian will be putting on, all surrounding, technology, Zoom meetings, using technology in a positive way, and a resource for our local businesses and members. I'm happy to be in this new interim role. We've got lots of exciting things up and coming. The staff are working really hard on new content and some new changes that will be coming with our website, just to make it a bit more interactive. But most of the things that we're focusing on are going to be surrounding, helping people get back to business, providing access to resources, providing content that's specific to that, less doom and gloom, more actual real life productive stuff that you can use. And obviously we're here as a resource too. If you need connections, we're always happy to do that. So without taking up too much of Ian's time, I'm going to pass this on. I do have to leave. I apologize. I have another Zoom that I have to attend, and I apologize to Ian already, but Todd will be here to keep you entertained.
All right. Thanks, Paul. Appreciate that. So over the past 2 months, we have all had to shift very quickly to remote workspaces and online meetings. For many of us, using platforms like Zoom, Google Hangouts, Microsoft Teams, and Skype was something we hadn't planned on doing, and now it is part of our daily routine. Looking forward to recovery, we must acknowledge that remote meetings will continue to be a part of our business life for many months, and in some cases, indefinitely. As we are business leaders, now is the time to ensure that our online presence reflects our professional standards in business, and I'm glad that you've joined us to learn how we can do this. Our speaker today, a friend of mine, Ian McIntosh of IGM Photography. Ian is not only one of Barrie's best photographers, he is also co-owner of Flourish Vitality Yoga. When the pandemic temporarily forced the closure of business throughout the world, Ian and his partner in everything, Joanne Loughy, decided would take Flourish online and do it as well. They streamed their first class on March 16, 2020, now offering live streamed and scheduled recordings of classes to their students, as well as on-demand classes to their VIP members. In the next month, they will continue their fully fledged online yoga studio through their website that will also utilize social media. After Ian's presentation, we'll have a Q&A session today. To submit a question, just please click on the Q&A button on your type out your question, and I'll read the questions directly over to Ian to answer those. And I think we're pretty much into you now, Ian, so welcome.
Hey, thanks, Todd. I really appreciate the chance to tell everybody a little bit about how they can improve their video feeds on Zoom and other video conferencing tools. I really appreciate the Chamber asking me to come in and do this. As Todd mentioned, I am one of the owners of Flourish Vitality, and we ended up being, we decided to go online really fast. And so we started off with a smartphone, and then we developed a lot more complex types of video conferencing tools and all that sort of stuff. And one of the things that I noticed was that people were not really presenting a professional look on their Zoom feeds. And it doesn't really take too much to be able to improve that. It doesn't really cost a lot or anything if you really want to. It might just be a little bit of an incremental improvement, or it might be It might be something that you want to go to a broadcast quality, and you can do all that reasonably inexpensively, especially in comparison to the way it was, you know, even 5 years ago, where it would cost you $100,000 to just go online with a live feed. You can go online with a live feed just using a smartphone and Facebook, which is great. In fact, reminds me, I'm going to go live on Facebook. So if you know anybody who wants to watch on Facebook, they're more than welcome to do so. I'm just going to turn that on live so that not only am I live on my Facebook page, but I'm also live on Zoom right now. So there's all sorts of really cool stuff that's going on. Anyways, so let's start into the actual presentation. There we go. So how to improve your visual appearance on Zoom and other video conferencing programs. I have to just give me one sec. You got to get this up. There we go. So we're going to deal with some common sense tips and tricks for creating great looking video conference feeds that with equipment that you have on hand, with what you have on hand. So here's some things that I see, and there's lots worse, but here's some things that I see people when they're in their Zoom feeds. This is the one that I call the crouching over the lens, and looking as if they are having a lot of pain. Next one, the up the nose shot. You don't want the up the nose shot. That happens when you're, generally it happens with laptops, and you're using the laptop camera that you have, and the laptop is below the level of your head. And in order to get your face in the shot, you have the camera pointing up your nose. Not such a good look. Next one, I call this the Wilson shot. For any of you who are familiar with the show Home Improvement, this is the shot that is just like Wilson peering over the fence. You want your head about 2/3 of the way up the screen, not down towards the bottom. Todd? There we go. Let's see. Yeah, this one. This is another one of my favorites. So this is having the window directly behind you, and what happens is that the window has very bright light, exterior light and interior light, daylight, and the light from your home is quite a bit different. Look at that, Todd. You're really paying attention. What happens is the camera can't decide what exposure to use, and so it says, okay, well, I'm going to go to the bright light, and it exposes so that you can see outside. That's almost normal. The next one is just the opposite, where you're facing the window and the camera is pointing towards you, and your face is overexposed. This happens because, again, the natural light from outside is much brighter, even on a cloudy day, than the light that's in the room. So you need to balance it out. And my favorite is the virtual background that Zoom provides. It's not like it can work well, but it's not the be all and end all, and you have to be very careful about it. And when you do use the Zoom virtual background, what you want to do is possibly come up with a graphic that puts the company's logo off to the side so that you're not blocking it. Or if you have a virtual background like I do right now, that it's not, it doesn't look like it's out of place. I'm actually working with a green screen right now, which is a little bit different than the virtual background that Zoom has. So how do we deal with this? So the camera setup is really important. You might notice that I'm looking directly at the camera as if I'm looking at somebody who's directly in front of me, instead of looking down and the camera being, for instance, I can't do it here, but I don't really want to be looking upwards towards the camera, so I don't want the camera below my eye level. I want it to be directly at eye level. So if you have a laptop or if you have a webcam or your phone, you want to somehow maybe put it on a tripod, or tape it to a ladder, or tape it to a wall, or tape it to a pole or something, so that the camera is directly in front. And by the way, landscape. Don't have your camera like this because it doesn't look all that great. So you want to keep the camera level as much as possible, because what happens is that when the camera is angled, so if it's angled like this or more, or this or more, you get what's called diverging lines. So the sides of the image start to converge, or they diverge the other way. So you need to be careful about that. Let's see here. So personal appearance. Well, this was a slide from BNI, and I haven't fixed it yet. So I'm going to get rid of that. I can't. So you want to look professional. So wear your business attire. Can be business casual. I'm not wearing a suit. I never wear a suit. But I always wear black. As a photographer, it's a really great color, or a lack of color, because it doesn't show up in reflections, and I can hide myself quite well just by wearing black clothing in the reflections of a window, for instance. You want to look straight at the camera when you're talking. It also helps to look at the camera when you're listening, because it shows the people that are talking that you care. And you want to be able to engage with that person, and so that it's more like a conversation that you're having, rather than looking down at the screen. Looking at the person on the Zoom screen, for instance, if I'm looking at Todd, it doesn't look as though I'm engaging with the camera. It looks like I'm looking away and not really paying attention. But if I look directly towards the camera, it's something that really engages with the person who's watching. So that's really important as well. Rename yourself in Zoom. So you might have noticed that I renamed myself today. When it came up, it said E&G McIntosh from E&G McIntosh Photography, but I already had that label on my overlay on my screen, so I didn't really need it. So I just shortened my name so it didn't cover up my my label, my name. Let's see. So really, it's really about creating a professional appearance. What we're dealing with here is that we're 2 months in, and I have a feeling myself that we're going to be doing a lot of online video conferencing for a very long time. I think we're going to be doing Zoom and Microsoft Teams and Facebook Messenger rooms and Google Hangouts and Skyping and all those different platforms. And we're going to be doing that for quite a while. People are going to get tired of people who are presenting on video in a way that isn't professional. So everything that you do to create a professional presence is going to help that engagement that you have with the people that you're working with, that you're presenting to, and that you're meeting with online. I think it's really important. I pretty much show up here every day, and I make sure my lights are on, and I have a nice high-end camera. I also use my phone. I also use an iPad. I use webcams. I use the camera on my laptop, but I really always try to make sure that I have a very consistent image about how I'm presenting, no matter what situation I'm in. So how do we do it? First of all, you want to frame the image. You might have noticed that when I did my initial slide, let me just go back to it. Here, I'll go back to my initial slide. That, like, it looks pretty clean. My lighting's good. The background image is good. I have a green screen in behind me here, so like, hang on. Oh, I can't turn it off. I can. I have the technology. So I'm actually on a green screen right now, but I don't show it very often. Like, I like to show it because of demonstration purposes, but I don't show it a lot. Then I've got a series of images. I can put images in behind me. I can actually put a video in behind me, and I can do overlays like the overlay that's around my live screen, and we're able to work on that stuff. So the other thing that you could do rather than using a green screen is really put some thought into the set that's behind you. You know, in my studio, for instance, I'm gonna go back to here. In my studio right now, I'm gonna see if I can get this up. There we go. Is that I've got, no, there we go. I've got a setup on the other side of the room that if I turn my camera around, I can actually have a live set. I'm still working on the lighting, etc., but that's something that we can definitely do here. Let me just go back to here, and some fun stuff to play around with. Okay, so we go back to the presentation. So when you're looking at your what's behind you, do it with a sense of purpose. So don't just go in and say, okay, well, I'm gonna have whatever is behind me as the frame that's in behind me. Put something in that means something to your business, that creates a good message, that shows that you're thinking about your professional quality, because as time goes on, people, as I said, people are going to not really pay attention to you very much if you're not putting a professional appearance together. So the other way to do it is to use the virtual background. Paul, I believe that you have a virtual background in behind you. Is that the Zoom background? Just nod. Yes, it is. So Paul has a virtual background right now. You can do it well, but it's something that you have to, just make sure, because it kind of cuts hands off and backs of heads off and things like that. So just be mindful of it. You can probably improve that by changing the light, and we're going to go through lighting in a minute. So framing the image a little bit more about it. Remove the clutter from the background. Like, people don't want to see your coronavirus mess, or just your normal day-to-day mess that any of us have. Some of us have it more than others. I'm guilty. But I don't present that to the world regardless. I really work on trying to create a professional image, especially right now with my online presence. And place appropriate props on the wall art, and props in wall art behind you. You might have noticed when I showed that image of my studio, that you can see quite a few of my prints. They're props for me, and also wall art. So people get to say, okay, well, that's Ian's art. So just come up with something that represents your business and put that in behind you, and then work on lighting. You can actually work on lighting and making it look good in the image. Like, you wouldn't believe some of the live streams that I've seen from people who don't really have anything much more than like a webcam or even an iPad that they're using for their feed. Lighting itself. So one of the important things about lighting is that it needs to illuminate the main subject mostly. That's the goal for lighting. So you might notice if you've ever gone into like the Rogers studio, they got lights coming out the yazoo in that place, and they're all mostly up in the ceiling, but they're further back, and that's so that they can get a really good quality image. So if you go into a broadcast studio, it's even more, but so that they can get a good image of the person looking straight on to the camera. We're going to be dealing mostly in Zoom situations. Looking straight onto the camera, and we want to look good. So, you know, some of the things that we don't want to have happen are if I look at this light over here, you see that there's reflections in my glasses, and that happens with the computer screens as well. So, you know, be careful about even reflections from computer screens if you're wearing glasses. Some of the things that you can do is turn down the brightness of your computer screen. You might notice that when I'm looking at the camera, there's no reflection from my computer screens. I've got two. I've got actually 4 different computer screens right now. Let's see, let's go back to this and I'll show you my, nope, don't have it. Hey, what happened to my camera? Huh, I'm missing a camera. Hold on, let's see if that helps. So there's my setup. So I got a fair bit of stuff going on, but even with all of the bright monitors, and they're not really, I've turned the brightness down on the monitors so they don't create a reflection. Even with all these monitors, I don't have reflections in my glasses. So that's a really important thing to do. And you can also just angle them out of the shot. So anyways, so what you want to do is you want to have the light so that it's coming in from the side. You want the light so that it's like 45 degrees, but straight ahead towards you. In my setup here, I've got a light on one side, and I've got a reflector that reflects the same light back towards me, and that balances out the light from side to side. I've also got a light that's in behind me that's illuminating the green screen, and hopefully doesn't turn my hair green, but sometimes it does. I just have to be very careful about that stuff. When you're using natural light, so window light, you can absolutely use it, but one of the problems or one of the challenges that you'll have with using window light is that, again, it's brighter in the window than it is in the room. So if you're lighting the window from the side, then one side of your face is going to be extremely bright, and the other side of your face is not going to be bright. So some ways to deal with it is, first of all, put a white drape, white sheet over top of the window, or just cut down the light completely with a darkening drape or a blackout drape. And then the other thing that you can do is you can put a piece of white foam core or a mirror or something on the other side. So that will actually reflect the light back to the other side of your face, so you won't be super bright on one side and then really dark on the other, and then your camera doesn't really know how to deal with it. So it can cause challenges, so just be careful about it. I really like the idea of having the light, the window light, really diffuse down and darken quite a bit. I like using room light and artificial illumination. So I have soft boxes, I have ring lights and all that sort of stuff. You don't have to have that. You can use floor lamps, you can use work lights, you can use all kinds of different lights, but you just have to be careful about the balance between one side and the other, and then the balance from inside light and outside light. Yeah. So here we go. Yeah. So the other thing you got to watch out for is bright spots in the frame. So when the sun is coming through the window and it's direct sunlight, it ends up hitting the walls, and you'll see like a bright spot on the wall, or you'll see a bright spot on the side of your face if you've got direct sunlight coming at you. Just be careful about that. You know, look at do a screenshot or have somebody comment. Like if you want to have somebody comment on, you know, what the light is like on one side of your face to the other. So if you use light, you want it to be bright. You know, the brighter it is, actually, the better. TV lights are almost blinding, you know, but you don't want them to be blinding because you don't want people to squint. Yeah, so light from 45-degree angles, watch out for bright spots. Ooh, I already went through all that stuff. I'm getting ahead of myself. Okay, so now you've got all the light happening. You want to consider the sound. Okay, so generally, and it really depends. Some phones, some tablets, some laptops have actually pretty good sound, and you can just use the sound that's on your existing devices. But you can improve it by using USB mics, or even Bluetooth mics. With our teachers that mic for a phone. We were looking at wireless belt pack microphones, but the problem with that, or the challenge with that, is that the belt pack itself gets in the way when you're doing yoga poses on the floor, for instance. So we said, okay, well, why don't we try the Bluetooth mic? The sound's not quite as good. It's not terrible, but it is pretty good in general. And really, it's way better than sound coming from across the room, directly from the phone. Like if you're using the mic on a phone or on a tablet or on your computer. So you're able to use Bluetooth microphones, and you can use wireless microphones as well. There are some that are actually pretty good. People use a Rode Go wireless. If you want to use like a lavalier or a lavalier style or a headset style mic, and it's really quite unobtrusive, so it works out pretty well as well. Yeah. When you're starting to work on the sound and working on the lighting, etc., test it in a private meeting with somebody, and get together with somebody online and say, hey, how does this sound? How does this sound? You have to be careful about the sound that's not only you're capturing on the microphone, but you might have noticed that quite often you'll end up with feedback, mainly if you've got two devices that are open. If somebody's got a computer, for instance, that's watching, or that you're having a meeting with, and there's not proper noise cancellation, you get a lot of echo. So you want to test that stuff. Quite often I'll use, if I know that I'm going to be in a situation where the noise is not going to be great, we've got different challenges with noise. I've got a headset mic that I can, like a gaming headset that I can use. And again, I could use a Bluetooth headset for my phone. So that's something that you can look at as well. And when you're in a meeting, if you're not talking and you're not expecting to talk, mute yourself. It's really good etiquette and good practice. And then, don't forget to unmute yourself when you are speaking, because quite often you'll end up looking like your lips are moving and you're not saying anything, but maybe you're not saying anything important. Okay, so here's some settings that we can look at right now. Down at the bottom corner, there's a mic, the microphone icon where you can mute and unmute. Right beside that is an up arrow that allows you to let's see. Can you see that on the? There we go. That allows you to change the audio settings. So you can choose whether you want the system sound, so that's the sound of the computer, or you can use the Bluetooth headset that I've got, like a Clarity Wireless Black, and then I've got the built-in microphone, which is the microphone that's on my laptop. Or I've got a Bluetooth Yeti that I'm actually speaking through right now, and then I've got the gaming headset that I just showed a second ago. And then you also, once you've chosen your microphone, you have to go back and then choose your speaker because it might have changed automatically so that, you know, like if you're originally using the built-in and you wanted to use the wireless headset, that you just need to make sure that it's working. And you can actually go into the audio settings as well, and make those choices. So those choices are available in the audio settings, which is down in the up arrow beside the microphone. Click on that and then click audio settings. Okay, so that's pretty much it. I don't have anything more to add to that right now. And I'm happy to take questions. Just give me 1 second. I'm going to get to the Q&A. Todd.
You ready, Ian?
I'm ready.
All right, here we go. First one. How have you done your current setup with your slides, your title, and your video all showing at the same time?
Right. I use a program called Ecamm Live. It's what's classified as a broadcasting switcher. It's a Mac-only product, but there are other platforms like OBS, vMix, XSplit, BeLive, Stream Deck that allow you to do the same sorts of things that are either you're able to do it on any platform or just on PC.
Okay. Next one, and I think you just slightly touched on it. I'm sorry I had to leave for half a second, but it says, I've seen lots of people using headphones/ear pods with their setup. Is this okay with visual online etiquette?
Say the question again.
Seen lots of people using their headphones/ear pods with their setup. Is this okay with visual online etiquette?
Oh yeah, absolutely. You know, like it's really not a matter of whether it's etiquette or not. It's does it work? You know, for me, it's whether it works. So I can go from my Bluetooth Yeti to this, and I can't see it. Where the heck is my stuff? There we go. It's really about how does it look, how does it sound, and mostly how does it sound. Like this does look a little bit bulky. It looks kind of gamerish, and so it's not really necessarily the best look, but it works, and I like using it because if I'm in a room where my default mic has changed to, that's weird. There we go. It's back to whatever.
There you are.
Oh, are you can hear me? Can you hear
we temporarily lost your audio.
So I lost my audio. That's the other thing that you have to be careful about when you're doing these kinds of presentations. That, you know, like it's like the Wild West. It's you're always taking a bit of a chance. So I don't really see that it's a problem using earpods or AirPods or like a Bluetooth headset for a phone. I don't think it's an etiquette thing. The main challenge that I've noticed is that when people use it, they're not audible. Because, you know, like one of the things that I've seen people do is they'll actually hold the Bluetooth headset, like if it's like a dongle style, like a little cable that goes from ear to ear, they'll actually hold the microphone up to their mouth so that it sounds, they think it's going to sound better. What that does is it actually interferes with the noise cancellation in the headset, and so their voice cuts in and out. So that's something that you want to test.
All right, next question. Is the overlay with Ian's name something we can download online, or where or how do you get this?
Okay, so yes, this is something that I show people how to do, and I help them get set up. And if they have a Mac, it's even better because that's what I'm using. And the program that I use is a Mac-based program. And if you have a PC, it's also fairly straightforward to use. The program that I use is called eCam Live. The program that a lot of people use on PC is called OBS, Open Broadcast Software. It's a freeware program, so it's a little bit, it was developed through the gaming, gamers to get onto YouTube and Twitch, but it works really well. You can do all the stuff that I'm doing.
All right, next one up, Ian. Any tips for people who aren't comfortable speaking on camera, trying to appear professional but feeling awkward with being on video all the time?
That was me. In fact,
is that your own question?
I asked the question, yeah. Like when I first started, I was always tongue-tied. I'm not really comfortable, or I wasn't really comfortable talking to a camera. One of the most intimidating things that people find is looking directly at the lens. And that was one of my biggest fears, was to look directly at the lens when I'm talking. It's so much easier to look away or to look up or whatever, because you don't have to focus on what the direct connection really is. It's like, it's like you're looking at somebody when you're on to a camera. If you notice that if you're watching the news, newscasters, news anchors, they always look at the lens when they're talking. They don't look away halfway through or try to think when they're looking down. And the way that you do that is practice. It's the worst feeling, because even with a script, sometimes you get tongue-tied, and sometimes you just go, oh geez, this is terrible. And if I'm doing I've done a few promos, one of which I'm going to show next week. It took me about 20 takes to do the promo, because I kept forgetting my lines. And it's really just a matter of doing it, becoming more comfortable with it, do it a lot, and don't avoid it. That's the main thing. Just work at it. And the more you work at it, the more comfortable you get. And the funny thing is that happened to me was that I became so comfortable at looking at the lens when I was talking on Zoom or whatever, that anytime I'm looking around and I see my camera is sitting in front of me, regardless of whether it's on or not, I end up talking directly to the camera. It's weird. Really, really weird. Okay. I hope that helps.
Oh, great. That's yeah, good point. You got to watch, because sometimes you leave the camera on, you walk away, and then realize that maybe you forgot to put your shorts on. So you always have to be cautious. Next one up.
That's happened to you, I guess.
It has, yes. Yeah, I won't even go there. With sound, just to be clear, are you suggesting that you not depend on your cell phone or laptop mic and purchase a microphone? And if so, which mic is the best purchase to start off with?
If you're using your phone and and it's a new phone, because a lot of the new phones are set up, they're able to catch the sound 3 or 4 feet away, as opposed to phones from 3, 4, or 5 years ago, where when you're talking on speakerphone, when you're talking on the microphone, really it needs to be 4 or 5 inches away for it to sound good. One of the things that I would recommend is, if you're going to be doing like a selfie style video, so that you're looking at the screen when you're talking, is that somehow or another you cup the microphone, so the microphone the sound that of your voice sort of reflects into the cup. Like it can just be like, like a piece of wood, a piece of paper, or something that just reflects the sound into the microphone a little bit. It's actually improve the sound. As for getting a microphone, you can start off with a Bluetooth headset. I wouldn't get the cheapest ones. I did. I bought like $30 headset from a local provider, and it didn't. We already had a couple of headsets that we had received when we purchased phones. They were Monster headphones, or Monster headsets. Like Jabra, Plantronics, all sorts of really good ones for a Bluetooth headset. And if you want to go into the next level, like a D microphone, you would be going into something like a Blue Snowball. Blue is the manufacturer. A Blue Yeti is a very, very common industry standard. So the Blue Yeti looks like this. In fact, it is this. So that's what you want to look for. Those are about 180 bucks. You could use a wired lavalier mic, which works really well. There's an AKG or an Audio 10 wired mic that works really well. You know, like there's a bunch of mics from a company called Rode, R-O-D-E, and those are great mics. But you know, like you're starting to get into, you know, anywhere between like 60 bucks for the lavalier mic that from Etiquette, up to like $300-400 if you want to get into a really good quality wireless mic. You're looking at starting at about $200.
Alrighty. Are there any angles that will be better for helping me hide the extra chins I've gained from working in my kitchen through COVID-19? I read them as I get them, Ian.
Yeah. Shoot from a little bit above. And you know, like if you're like 4 or 5 inches above eye level, that's going to help a little bit. The other thing that you could do is, and it's kind of weird, it's something that I do for my headshot clients, is people to actually push their head forward a little bit. But you know, you have to do something like this. It's weird. You don't really want to do it.
Alrighty.
Yeah, don't have your camera below your eye level, especially don't have it below your chin level.
Right. Okay. If I have to step away from a meeting, is it better to turn my camera off or leave it on and empty?
What I do when I go away from the camera is I stop my video. That's what I do. So people don't see what's going on, and I also mute my microphone. A lot of people that I'm on Zoom calls with don't microphone even when they're away from camera. And if they're using a headset mic, you'll get a lot of friction noise. It'll sound like it's a pain in the ass.
Yeah.
Oh.
I'm actually currently helping my 22-year-old cook a hot dog in the barbecue while this is going on in front of me. So distractions will happen, obviously, throughout the day. Dogs barking, kids that I should better, you know, that kind of thing. So yeah, muting your microphone and turn the screen off is always a good idea.
You know, I've been in situations where I've forgotten to mute my microphone, and I'm doing all sorts of changes on my screen when somebody's talking. I'm like, okay, well, you probably don't think I'm paying attention to you, and I might not be, but very often.
So that's a perfect segue to the next one then. What do I do if I have kids at home? When I have my camera on, it's difficult to appear professional with them climbing on me.
I think you need to establish boundaries with your kids, you know, and set up. I don't have young kids myself, but set up some sort of boundary, like physical boundary and time boundaries, and you say, okay, well, during this time, you know, like between 1 and 3 o'clock in the afternoon, 1 and 4 o'clock in the afternoon, I'm at work. You can't disrupt me. I have a friend who, what he did was for 6 years, he was working out of his home office, and he had a door hanger that he and his kids made together. And one side of the door hanger was stop signs. And so if that stop sign was showing out towards the door, then the kids knew not to come into the room. And then when it was okay, because he was just maybe doing some paperwork or something, he would turn the door hanger around, and it would be pictures of him and the kids together. So the kids were like, oh, okay, well, it's time that we can actually bug dad. So I think that's a pretty cool thing. But I think it's really important to establish boundaries. With pets, you know, I don't know. I don't have pets. I don't have kids. But, you know, like, I think within reason, people are going to understand that, you know, there are kids and pets in home office situations that we weren't expecting to have to deal with 2 months ago. So, you know, I think a lot of people are really understanding that sort of thing. The more you're able to minimize it, especially if you're doing an important presentation, I actually go somewhere else. Like I don't work out of a home office. I work out of my office. So I still come to my studio in order to do my presentations and to do my one-on-one meetings, because I don't want to disturb the people in the house.
And that's an interesting perspective, because I think of this moving forward, Ian. And right now, you're absolutely right. Like, if you hear a dog in the background or a baby cry or whatever, it's like, we understand people are forced to work at home. You know, when we get this behind us, a lot of people, their new life will be working from home. They won't have to physically go into an office. But I think the mentality is going to change, because I still feel that at that point, I'm dealing with a professional. And
Yeah.
I want to, if I'm face to face on a Zoom call with a professional, I'm sort of expecting them to be professional like I am being with them. And those distractions of kids and things take away from the professionalism. So like you say, I think right now you're in that gray area where people are giving you a little bit of leeway. But I think if it becomes part of your norm where you're going to have to work from home, I don't think it'll be as acceptable moving forward.
No, I agree with you. I think people are going to be accepting of lack of, you know, for lack of a better term, lack of professionalism on the short-term basis.
Right.
But as we move forward, people are going to have a higher level of expectation, because there are going to be others who will provide that level of professionalism. And if you don't provide that level of professionalism, you know, they're going to make another choice, because it's not, you know, like, why would I listen if I don't have to listen to kids screaming in the background and dogs barking and cats cleaning themselves on my filing cabinet behind me on screen, then, you know, like, I'm not going to make that choice. I'm going to choose to go somewhere else.
This is an interesting one I've thought of quite a bit, so I'm glad somebody brought it up, because it does keep leaving my mind as soon as I leave a meeting. But how do you encourage other people in meetings to turn on their cameras? Seems like half the people in meetings are on camera, and the other half are profile pic or name only.
It depends on whether it's part of the meeting. You know, like, if people are in a webinar situation, like this kind of situation, how many attendees we had quite a few attendees originally, like, you know, 15 people. If we have, you know, like, if it's an interactive presentation or an interactive meeting where people are required to be on camera, I would really strongly encourage it and say, look, we really want to see you. It's really important that we were able to create that level of engagement, create a higher level of engagement, so that we're able to speak together.
Okay. This is always a tough one. So, do you have any suggestions for letting somebody know that their online appearance isn't representing them well professionally, or that their background is too cluttered?
Make a referral to me. Just say, look, you know, like, you should check out Ian's presentation.
Yeah.
And just, you know, like, have them watch the recording, or have them call me, and I can go through it with them. So it's not a direct conflict.
Okay. And not
put it on me. Like, I'm the guy who will help them.
Okay. And not a sales pitch on this one either, Ian, but there was a question here that is, where's the best place to purchase the mics that you were talking about? So in your opinion, where would you think for you or somebody, hopefully locally?
Yeah. I've been, I've been successful getting some of my gear through Henry's, even though they are in a level of protection. Their stores are still operating. Barrie's still operating. Newmarket's still operating. That's a great place. I would imagine that Music Pro has some places like MTAV and ME Enterprises, Stephen Michael. Great people, like I've always had great experiences with everybody in those places. And if you can't, maybe I buy a lot of my stuff used. So, Kijiji and Facebook Marketplace are good places to look, but you also need to know what to look for.
All right, we're going to go into one more, Ian. First, how have you done your current setup with your slides, your title, and your video all showing at the same time?
It's the switcher that I use. It's called Ecamm Live. It's a subscription. I love it. I think it's great. I'm actually able to do multi-cameras, so I can do an overhead. If I can get there. No, I can't get there. Hang on. Let me get back to it. So I can add 2 or 3 cameras. Is my iPad. And then the camera that I've been doing this presentation with is a Canon DSLR. They are using other manufacturers' DSLRs now, but it's a great program. It allows me to do all the different overlays. The border that I have around me today is something that I created in Photoshop, and it's an overlay that I put on, so I'm able to turn it on and off. See? So I can turn it on and off. I can change my green screen image as well. So let's see. So I can change it to, let's see, what have I got here? That's crazy, I lost. So there's my brick wall that's in my studio. So you can do all sorts of really cool things with it. And we can send the video feed to Facebook or to YouTube Live. And it also records at the same time. So that's really handy as well.
Excellent. Thank you, Ian. That's extremely informative. A lot of good covers watching. You can direct it to Ian directly or through the Chamber Sandbox, and we'll get in touch with Ian and get you those answers. In closing, we'd like to thank you all again for joining us and for the work you're doing in your everyday business. We urge every leader in our community to immediately shift your focus to the singular objective of slowing the pace and the transmission of this coronavirus. Both our federal and provincial governments have enacted measures that will only be effective if all employers step up and do their part to protect our provincial health and welfare. The Barrie Chamber of Commerce and Sandbox are here to help you through this. Please feel free to call or email us with any help that you may need. We also implore everyone, as always, to shop local. The local restaurateur shops that are now open that have front entrances and things. They need your help more than ever. Whether you're going to reach out and buy a gift card or order online from them or give them a call, every little bit's going to help all these businesses get through this. And then our last thing, as social distancing measures will be slowly lifted, please ensure that you continue to follow all requirements and take them seriously. These are not to be taken lightly, even though the fear may be wearing off. As the summer months become our main priority, it's to keeping the community safe and healthy, which is the responsibility of all of us collectively. And with that, thank you again, Ian. Thank you for all our participants, and everybody have a great day.
All right, thanks so much, Todd. Thanks everybody for sticking in there, and stay safe.
Great, thank you.